The rain was relentless, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Alaric, a 44-year-old architect living in Seattle, had always considered myself a man of unwavering principles, especially when it came to my marriage to Bronte. We had been together for 15 years, a seemingly perfect union built on mutual respect, shared dreams, and what I believed to be an unshakable love. It started subtly, a nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach that something was amiss. Bronte, a vibrant and outgoing marketing executive, had always been busy, but lately her work hours had become increasingly erratic. Late nights at the office, weekend conferences in Portland, and sudden business trips to Vancouver became the norm. I tried to brush it off, attributing it to the demanding nature of her job, but the unease persisted. Then came the phone calls. Whispered conversations in hushed tones, always ending abruptly when I entered the room. The excuses were flimsy: "It's just my mom," or "a client from out of state." I wanted to believe her. I desperately wanted to cling to the illusion of our perfect life, but the doubt gnawed at me relentlessly. One evening, Bronte claimed she had to attend a last-minute dinner with a potential investor. I offered to drive her, but she declined, insisting she needed to meet her colleagues beforehand. I kissed her goodbye, a hollow gesture that felt increasingly strained, and watched as she drove off in her silver sedan. As I closed the door, a sudden impulse washed over me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I decided to follow her. I kept a safe distance, trailing her car through the city streets. Instead of heading towards downtown, where most business dinners took place, she drove in the opposite direction, towards the upscale neighborhood of Magnolia. My heart pounded in my chest as she pulled into the driveway of a luxurious modern house. A house I didn't recognize. I parked down the street, my hands trembling as I watched her get out of the car. A man emerged from the house, a tall, handsome figure with a confident swagger. It was Lysander, one of Bronte's colleagues, a man I had always found overly charming and subtly flirtatious. They embraced, a lingering, intimate embrace that sent a jolt of icy dread through my veins. I watched in stunned silence as they walked into the house, their bodies closed, their laughter echoing in the night air. The reality of the situation crashed down on me with the force of a tidal wave. Bronte was having an affair with Lysander. The woman I had loved and trusted for 15 years was betraying me in the most devastating way imaginable. The next few hours were a blur. I sat in my car, paralyzed by shock and disbelief. The rain continued to fall, blurring my vision, as tears streamed down my face. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't comprehend the magnitude of her betrayal. The world as I knew it had shattered into a million pieces. Finally, as the first rays of dawn began to pierce through the darkness, I drove home. I walked into our house, the house we had built together, the house that now felt like a hollow shell of broken promises. I went straight to our bedroom, the room where we had shared countless nights of love and intimacy, the room that was now tainted by her infidelity. I sat on the edge of the bed, waiting for her to come home. The anger, the hurt, the humiliation, it all swirled inside me, threatening to consume me. I knew I couldn't stay in this marriage, not after what she had done. The trust was gone, the love was gone, all that remained was a gaping wound that would likely never heal. Bronte arrived home around 7 a.m. looking tired but strangely content. She walked into the bedroom, a forced smile on her face. "Alaric, what are you doing up so early?" she asked, her voice betraying a hint of nervousness. I stood up, my eyes burning with a mixture of rage and sadness. "I know," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I know about Lysander, I know about everything." Her face paled, her eyes widening in panic. "Alaric, I can explain," she stammered, her voice trembling. "Explain what, Bronte? Explain how you could betray me like this. Explain how you could throw away everything we've built together for a cheap, meaningless affair." I couldn't control the tremor in my voice, the raw emotion that poured out of me. She started to cry, the tears streaming down her face. "It just happened," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake." "A mistake," I repeated, my voice rising. "A mistake that you made repeatedly, behind my back, lying to my face. A mistake that you planned and orchestrated with another man." She didn't answer, her head hung low in shame. I looked at her, at the woman I had loved with all my heart, and I felt nothing but disgust. The love was gone, replaced by a bitter, acrid resentment. "I want you to leave," I said, my voice cold and hard. "I want you out of this house, out of my life. I don't ever want to see you again." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with desperation. "Alaric, please don't do this. I'm sorry. I'll do anything to make it up to you. It's too late, Bronte," I said, my voice unwavering. "You've destroyed everything. There's nothing left to salvage." She begged and pleaded, but I remained firm. I told her to pack her belongings and leave. I couldn't bear to be in the same room with her, to breathe the same air. As she packed, I watched her, my heart aching with a pain I had never known before. She left that morning, taking with her a suitcase full of clothes and a lifetime of memories. As I watched her drive away, I felt a strange sense of relief, mixed with an overwhelming sadness. The pain was unbearable, but I knew I had made the right decision. I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies and deceit. The divorce was messy and acrimonious. Bronte fought for everything, trying to bleed me dry financially. She claimed I was emotionally abusive, that I had driven her into Lysander's arms. But I had evidence of her affair, emails and text messages that painted a clear picture of her infidelity. In the end, the judge sided with me, granting me a favorable settlement. After the divorce was finalized, I decided to leave Seattle. The city held too many painful memories, too many reminders of what I had lost. I sold our house and moved to a small town in Montana, seeking solace in the vast, open landscapes and the quiet solitude. I spent the next few years rebuilding my life piece by piece. I focused on my work, designing beautiful and sustainable buildings. I found solace in nature, hiking in the mountains and fishing in the streams. I surrounded myself with supportive friends who helped me heal and move on. One day, I received a phone call from a mutual friend in Seattle. She told me that Bronte had been fired from her job after her affair with Lysander became public knowledge. Lysander's wife had discovered their infidelity and exposed them to the entire company. Both Bronte and Lysander were now unemployed and ostracized by their social circle. I felt a pang of satisfaction, a sense of karmic justice. Bronte had destroyed my life, and now she was facing the consequences of her actions. But the satisfaction was fleeting. It didn't bring me any real joy. It didn't erase the pain of her betrayal. Years passed. I eventually started dating again, cautiously opening my heart to the possibility of love. I met Rhiannon, a kind and compassionate woman who understood my past and accepted me for who I was. We fell in love and eventually got married. I had found happiness again, a different kind of happiness, but happiness nonetheless. One evening, Rhiannon and I were having dinner when I received a text message from an unknown number. It was a picture of Bronte, looking haggard and worn, standing outside a homeless shelter. The message read, "Karma is a bitch." I stared at the picture, my heart filled with a mixture of pity and anger. I couldn't help but feel sorry for Bronte, for the miserable life she had created for herself. But I also couldn't forgive her for what she had done to me, for the pain and suffering she had caused. I deleted the picture and blocked the number. I didn't want to be consumed by her misery. I didn't want to let her back into my life. I had moved on, I had found happiness, and I wasn't going to let her ruin it again. I looked at Rhiannon, her eyes filled with love and concern. I smiled, a genuine smile that reached my soul. I had survived Bronte's betrayal, I had rebuilt my life, and I had found love again. I was stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. Bronte's affair had been the most painful experience of my life, but it had also been a catalyst for growth and transformation. I had learned to forgive, to let go, and to embrace the future with hope and optimism. The rain had stopped, the storm had passed. The sun was shining, casting a golden glow on the world. I was finally free. But the story doesn't end there. A few months later, I received a letter from Bronte. In it, she confessed everything, admitting that her affair with Lysander had been a selfish and impulsive act. She revealed that Lysander had been abusive and manipulative, and that she had regretted her decision to leave me almost immediately. She begged for my forgiveness, acknowledging that she didn't deserve it, but hoping that one day I would be able to find it in my heart to understand. I read the letter with a mixture of emotions. I felt a flicker of sympathy for her, but also a lingering resentment. I knew I could never forgive her completely, but I could acknowledge her remorse and wish her well. I wrote her a short letter in response, telling her that I had moved on and that I hoped she could find peace and happiness in her own life. I never heard from Bronte again, but I often think about her, wondering if she ever found redemption, if she ever learned from her mistakes. I hope she did, because in the end, we are all just human, flawed and imperfect, trying to navigate the complexities of life and love. And sometimes, we make choices that have devastating consequences, not only for ourselves but for the people we love the most. My story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, to the power of forgiveness, and to the enduring hope for a better future. It is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, we can find the strength to heal, to rebuild, and to love again. Time continued its relentless march forward. Rhiannon and I built a beautiful life together in Montana. We traveled, we volunteered, we cherished every moment we had. Years turned into decades, and the memory of Bronte's betrayal began to fade, replaced by the warmth and security of my new marriage. Then, one crisp autumn day, I received an unexpected visitor. A young woman stood on my doorstep, her eyes filled with a hesitant hope. She introduced herself as Seren, Bronte's daughter, a daughter I never knew existed. Seren explained that Bronte had passed away a few months prior after a long battle with cancer. She had left a letter for Seren to be delivered to me after her death. The letter contained a final confession, a plea for forgiveness, and a revelation that shook me to my core. Seren was not Lysander's daughter. She was mine. Bronte had discovered she was pregnant shortly after our separation. She had assumed the child was Lysander's, as they had been intimate around the same time. But as Seren grew older, Bronte began to suspect the truth. Seren had my eyes, my smile, my mannerisms. She was my daughter. Bronte had kept this secret hidden for over 20 years, fearing my reaction, fearing the disruption it would cause in my life. But on her deathbed, she had realized the importance of telling Seren the truth and giving her the opportunity to connect with her father. I was stunned, overwhelmed by the weight of this revelation. I had a daughter, a grown daughter whom I had never known. A daughter who was now standing before me, searching for a connection, searching for a father. I invited Seren inside and we spent the next few hours talking, sharing stories and getting to know each other. I learned about her life, her dreams, her passions. I discovered that she was a talented artist, a kind and compassionate soul, a woman I was incredibly proud to call my daughter. Rhiannon welcomed Seren with open arms, embracing her as if she were her own child. We became a family, a blended family forged in the crucible of betrayal and loss, but bound together by love and acceptance. Seren's arrival brought a new dimension to my life, a sense of completeness I had never known before. I finally understood the true meaning of forgiveness, the power of redemption, and the enduring strength of family. Bronte's betrayal had been a devastating blow, but it had also led me to unexpected blessings. It had taught me valuable lessons about love, loss, and the importance of living each day to the fullest. And it had ultimately brought me the greatest gift of all, my daughter, Seren. As I look back on my life, I realize that even the most painful experiences can lead to unexpected joy. Bronte's affair was a tragedy, but it was also a catalyst for growth and transformation. It forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities, to embrace change, and to find happiness in the face of adversity. And it ultimately led me to a life filled with love, laughter, and the enduring bond of family. And so, my story comes to a close, not with bitterness or regret, but with gratitude and hope. I am a survivor, a father, a husband, and a man who has learned to embrace the complexities of life with an open heart and a resilient spirit.